I'd like to thank you for coming to today's monthly meeting of Gameholics Anonymous. Now, first, new person, would you please stand up and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Nai. Thank you. Oh, okay. I thought I was going to be in a hospital room today. And I'm a gameaholic. I've been struggling with this disease for over 30 years. But I like to say that I was 2 years sober. So that was a really good thing for me. And my last game was a game called Diablo 3. Anybody hear of that? So that was a really bad time in my life. So Diablo 3 sucked me in, and I had to play it. But I stepped away from it, quit cold turkey, and thank goodness. But I'm here again today because this game came out, Fallout 4. Yeah, very good. Fallout 4. This game is a game that I've been waiting 7 freaking years for it to come out. And boy, did I go into that Fallout shelter for a long time. Oh, I lost weight. My hair got all long. But I'm here today because I stepped away from it. I have now 2 months sober from Fallout until the next game comes out. But thank you very much for coming here today. One thing I wanted to illustrate, with my agenda here, is to really get you to understand the mind of a gamer. I'm a gamer. I've been studying video games in depth for over 30 years. So you can almost count me an expert in that field. And so today, I want you to get that understanding. So I'm going to talk about the gamer, give you a brief history of the video game industry and how it kind of evolved over the years. How video games is an addiction. How it affects education. Now this is very big because it's going to be a major shift in how we teach with these type of people like myself. Understanding the culture of gamers, and then kind of go over my experiences in experiments in technology working with the gaming generation. And then down here at the bottom, I don't know if you can read it, but one of the things that's really key in gaming is mastery. So tapping into their need and drive for mastery. So this is our agenda today. We're going to go through a whirlwind ride, and I'm going to try to get you to understand what's in this brain so that you could translate it to the students that you are facing today. So one of the big reasons why I developed this session, I've been speaking on this topic for over a year now at various conferences, is because when I go to the conferences, I recognize that the vast majority of educators are not gamers. They don't even have an inkling or understanding as why these kids do these things over and over again. So the session was developed to kind of give you a little glimpse and to have you have a better understanding. So to tell you a little bit about me, I had several disadvantages growing up. As you heard a few of them in the intro, one of the first ones I point out is I was made in Taiwan. Okay. All right. That in itself is not a disadvantage, but my parents decided to immigrate to the United States when I ripened at the age of 2. So I was made there, but then they exported me. So just like how our keynote speaker said during her speech, you feel very disconnected. You're not part of the Chinese culture, you're not part of the American culture, you're kind of like in your own little island, and you're trying to figure yourself out in this world. So that was one little disadvantage. Like Mary said, English was my second language, so I spoke Chinese first, and I actually had to go to speech class for 2 years to get me to speak English properly. So those speech teachers, they did a good job, right? Yeah. I know. They knocked the Chinese accent out of me. I don't even have the Chinese accent anymore. I can't even fake it. But one of the big things is growing up in a Chinese environment, I also developed a very strong reading problem. I could not read a novel for the life of me. I went through an entire high school career without reading a complete novel. When I was trying to study a textbook, I would read the text and it would just kind of disappear. So I have to read it out loud 2 or 3 times to be able to actually grasp it. It was very difficult for me. But yeah, I survived. I also grew up in a Chinese restaurant. So I bring that up because, like, when they came over here to the United States, they opened up a restaurant. And I remember, from this age, when I was like, sorting up bottle caps from the bar, to like, here when I was able to start busing, and then, to here when they made me do everything for free. Well, yeah, I got fed. I got fed, yeah. And oh yeah, that's right. Room, housing, blah blah blah. But we were very poor because, like, restaurants, you're like barely making ends meet. You're trying to survive. So like, I grew up on free and reduced lunch. In fact, in order to survive, for myself, my parents used to like only give me $1 a day for lunch during school. So I decided, hey, if I'm getting $1 a day, I could buy me, maybe a slice of pizza or something like that. But what if I worked at the school cafeteria and got free food? So that's what I did for 2 years. And I worked in the cafeteria. I washed dishes because I'm already used to that. So I got my free burritos and free pizza, and oh yeah, it was good. I was living life, and I got $10 a week too, on top of that, so I could buy my video games. So so I grew up in a Chinese restaurant, and also I failed in math class because it couldn't hold my attention. But I forgot to mention that we were so poor. Oh, actually no, I'm jumping ahead of myself. Sorry. So I even failed math class because it couldn't hold my attention because of this other problem I have here, disadvantage ADHD. Right? Anybody have any kids with that problem? Oh, okay. Come on. I expected more. I mean, not your own kids, but kids that you're teaching in. Yeah. Okay. All right. I want to see everyone wave their hands in the air. So, yeah, all jittery. So I couldn't pay attention in class. My mind was racing. I was just going all over the place. And, I was hyperactive. I was a disaster for my parents. But we were so poor in the Chinese restaurant that my parents could not afford to take me to a psychiatrist to put me on medication. So they had to deal with it, and I had to deal with it the old-fashioned way, not with whips and chains, no, but to really try to find things that focused my attention. But the way I think about it now is because I was not medicated, because I wasn't given a crutch that took the problem away, I now have the ability to look at and absorb information at a far greater rate than my peers and the peers beyond that ever could. I would, if you remember the movie The Matrix, how like they're shooting the guy Neo with the bullets, and he's like, I'm gonna go into Matrix mode, and he does this like wah 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 thing, and so when I'm looking at a computer screen or just the world in general, my brain in the back of my mind is absorbing all this information, feeding it to my front brain, and then I'm actually able to process all that miraculously without even thinking about it because I had to learn to deal with multiple sources of information coming at me, sorting it out and actually doing something about it. So really, this ADHD thing, disadvantage, or can we call it a superpower? Right? Superpower. Now, so through that natural evolution of working through that issue, I call it my distinct advantage nowadays. People who are around my age, I could look at something and I could tell them like so many different things about it, and they're like in these narrow channeled mindset, and it would take them like maybe 2 or 3 times longer to work through that, or some other method. Or I'm just saying, don't knock these kids with this problem, because our job now is to figure out how to tap into that power and turn it into an advantage. So because of that, I love video games. Early on, video games were really simplistic. It held my attention. As it grew and grew and grew, I was able to adapt to it, and then it further expanded my ADHD in a way. But it also allowed me to be able to keep my attention and and work through multiple problems. In fact, like there's some games that they're throwing like 15 data points at you at the same time. And my job is to be able to process it, react to it, and then make decisions about it so I could beat the other opponent. So from that, I taught myself programming because, hey, I love video games. Why not make my own game? So I decided to learn BASIC and C and try to take these computers and make it do some amazing things. So then I took these aspects and then my Chinese background, and through some luck, happenstance, and right place at the right time, started developing culinary arts using technology as a platform, with gaming as one of the emphasis. Now we're going back in time. It was really early on back then, but now, I guess we could say I was like 10 years ahead of the curve. Is there any water here? I forgot to get a glass of water when I was running in. I am very parched. So, this video here.
I'm going to stick this in here, and then I'm going to pour in the milk. I hope this works because I didn't bring a change of pants.
Look, I googled it. It's a fake picture. That's it. No cake for you. Anyone else want to join the no cake club?
Just kidding, boys and girls. Everyone gets cake.
I love The Big Bang Theory. I mean, this show's been around for a while. Anybody here watch this show? Yeah. Nerds, physicists, geeks doing their thing. And 90% of it's true. Some of it's a little fake. But this video, I love this video because it illustrates the key point about these kids is that they never knew a world where you actually had to physically relocate yourself to a library, and then look up a book through the Dewey Decimal System to find some information or encyclopedia. Or, worse yet, let's say you're doing a research project and you go into the microfiche library. Yes, I know what a microfiche is. And scan through those dozens and dozens of pages of articles to find that one from Time Life in 1967. And then you realize it's the wrong one. And then you have to go find another one. And then you base your entire research off of that one article because you're sick and tired of spending all that time in that dungeon. So anyway, so they don't realize that we had to work for our information. We had to desire to go to it or forced to go to it for other reasons. And now they just kind of pick it up and go, hey, that's a fake picture. Oh, and what's this? Oh, let's play this game. So they never had to worry about that. And this new generation of instant gratification of information is what we have to deal with. Because if they're inquisitive about something, they'll look it up. They'll Google it. They'll look at Wikipedia and then and find it. But because their minds are always active, they're always active. And we're trying to cram them down this narrow pathway and say, oh yeah, let's just utilize all the tools and find all the different ways to become active. So what I like to say is, my mouse is not moving anymore. There we go. Where is my advanced? There we go. Hey, where'd you go, mouse? There we go. Is that we're catering to the accelerated mind. This is something that I would love to do some additional research on. But one of the things is as a gamer, we're used to multiple stimuli. So if we get focused and set out on a task where it's single stimuli, and it's not coming at us fast enough, then our brains shut down because it's like driving in fifth gear at 15 miles per hour. You're like, and you stutter out. Thank you very much. And the thing is maybe at fifth gear, you want to go at 40 miles per hour, but then you also put the nitro mod into it, and then you you put the flux capacitor, so you could go back to the future. But the thing is so what I'm trying to illustrate is that yes, they'll get to the same destination, but you got to plug in so many different things so that they're moving at that pace. And that's the challenge that we have because the modality that we teach, unless if you're doing active learning, is read the book, study it, watch the lecture, listen to it, etc. Read through PowerPoint. It's 15 miles per hour, 15 miles per hour. So that's the big challenge. I just noticed that I think my mouse only works from this distance. So I will bring in backup mouse. This is my super mouse, which can reach over there. Because I like wandering a lot during my presentations. And if I go too fast, I'm sorry. Okay, so are there any gamers in here? So when I talk about gamers, we're talking about different generations. So anybody here from the arcade game generation here? Pac-Man, Pong, yeah, okay, good. So you have a few people, you've experienced. Hooked on Pong, yeah. All right, anybody here joined the console game generation? You go from arcade, then the next, arcade is the entry drug, and then console. So we're going from physically relocating ourselves to now active in our homes all the time, console, Nintendo, and whatnot. Now then we move on to the next one, the portable generation. Nintendo DS now, instead of staying at home, now you can take it with you in your pocket. And you have these little games on there, one at a time. Then you might play Pokemon. Yeah. Then the next level, smartphones, where it's ubiquitous and in everybody's pockets and everybody's hands. So it's not necessarily a gaming device, but now you have one. So you too can become a gameaholic without even knowing it. So anyway, smartphone gamers in here. All right. So you guys joined later in the crowd, but that's okay. We have help for you too. Okay, so anybody here play solitaire? All right, you're a gamer. All right, yeah, solitaire. One of the most passive-aggressive games ever. Okay, so quickly here, I'm just going to walk through a brief history of gaming for those of you who don't have a foundation on it. So it started with this, Pong, a blip dot moving back and forth. And boy, was that fun for the 1970s. So that was the beginning of stimuli in a new way. They were being stimulated and controlling electronic device, so it's not physical anymore. So that's what basically started it all. And then people were reacting to it, and they could compete. Yeah, exactly. And then it moved on to Pac-Man and Donkey Kong. And Super Mario Brothers, which is probably one of the most, other than Pac-Man, most iconic and long-lasting franchises in the video game industry. Then we move on to Zelda. So we got Nintendo coming out with that. Then arcades getting more sophisticated with competitive fighting games like Street Fighter. Sonic the Hedgehog was one of the first that was super hyped up. So this hedgehog will be running 1,000,000 miles per hour through the screen, and you're watching your kids playing. You're going, how do you understand what's going on? Oh, yeah, it's easy. Just jump at this time. Yeah. So video games are making a huge difference in our lives. So this illustration here illustrates a theory of mine that's being actually talked about now of passive versus active entertainment throughout the generation. So I just want to kind of illustrate to you the difference of what you guys mostly grew up with and what I and the other kids who are growing up, the millennials, the Generation Z or Generation G, whatever they want to call them now, have to face. So back then, you're a kid, your parents were out working, you come home and you turn on the television. Then, you're watching these cartoon characters because that was your form of entertainment. So you sat down in front of the television and you're being told a story by Mickey Mouse. You laugh at them, you cry, you have fond memories, you love them so much. You go to Disneyland, you buy Mickey Mouse hats, you have a Mickey Mouse toaster, that's okay, you closet Mickey fans, and things like that. So when you were a kid, you were being programmed to love these characters, but you were also being programmed the way you should absorb information by sitting there in front of a television, passively accepting whatever is told to you. You had no way to interact with it. You had no way to talk back to it. You had no way to change what's going to happen. You were just taking it in as is. So you go to school, and the teacher's up there talking, and you're going, okay, yeah, okay, I got it. Let me pass a note. Okay. Yeah, so the entertainment when you're a kid has created that style of engagement. And that worked. So the education worked for 100 years like that until this came out, the video game. So now, instead of sitting there passively watching this story being told to you, you're actively engaged in these characters' lives. So you love them even more because you're making decisions on how you're making it through the level. You know, you're Mario, so you're like jumping through, making through the level. So you come over there, you kick the turtle, jump on the mushroom, and then make it all the way to the end, kill Bowser, and save Princess Peach in under 30 seconds. So now they're controlling the story, they're making their way through it, and they're making decisions on how to make it through the level. So this active engagement of their entertainment is the way they're used to having at home. So go to the classroom, sit down nice in a row, the teacher's up there. Hey, today we're going to talk about this, and I want you to open your book to page number 78. And the teacher students are going, engagement, or where's my control? I want to make some decisions. Oh, maybe this is not the right time to engage. And then they're like, I think I'll just go to sleep. And then you get chalk thrown at you. Yeah, that happened. Yes, chalk. It happened. So this disconnect isn't because they're having problems. It's because the entertainment world is telling them this is how I should engage with content. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it's just going to get worse or better, So where am I? My super mouse isn't working. Oh, it's because it's sitting on top of this other computer, so the RF frequencies are all messed up. So last year, this video came out from a YouTuber called Vsauce, and then he talked about the same thing I did for the past 5 years, which is actually pretty cool. Yes.
In the 1990s, Douglas Rushkoff coined the term screenagers to describe a generation that for the first time ever was growing up to think that images on screens weren't just something to passively stare at, but instead were something to be manipulated. Well, today, it's even more extreme. The tools and connectivity provided by the web allow us to think of images on screens not just as things to manipulate, but as things to project our own identities onto. Not everyone who does this is a professional storyteller, or acclaimed poet, or coherent, but content aside, hyperlinked webs of human expression are incredibly...
What? Why did it do that?
In the 1990s, Douglas Rushkoff coined the term frame. More so than books,
all right, let's go back here.
Everyone who does this just as things to manipulate, but as things to project our own identities on. Not everyone who does this is a professional storyteller, or acclaimed poet, or coherent, but content aside, hyperlinked webs of human expression are incredibly rich environments, and they exercise the brain. More so than books. Well, for the sake of argument, let's read from Everything Bad is Good for You, a book by Stephen Johnson. Now, in this passage, he imagines a world in which books were invented after video games and the World Wide Web. Kids everywhere are starting to read these newfangled books. Teachers,
You can hear 5 back here. Yeah.
they might say something like this. Perhaps the most dangerous property of these books is the fact that they follow a fixed linear path. You can't control the narratives in any fashion. You simply sit back and have the story dictated to you. For those of us raised on interactive narratives, this property may seem astonishing. Why would anyone want to embark on an adventure utterly choreographed by another person? But today's generation embarks on such adventures millions of times a day. Reading is not an active participatory process, it's a submissive one generation are learning to follow the plot instead of learning to lead.
So I thought that was a really cool video. Just really illustrates the. And I know why I was having problems. Bam, changing settings. Oops, and did I just? No, I didn't break this. Keep changes. Okay, that's why I was having problems earlier. Let's go here to advanced options, display 2. Sorry,
Is this a test of what generation we are now?
Yeah, well, see, the problem is they have the resolution all set up wrong. 1280 by 960. That's the native resolution of this projector, although it changes. And let's go ahead and no, I don't want that. I don't want that either. End the show. Show's over. Okay, so the reason why I was having problems is because it went dual screen and it wasn't supposed to do that. So there we go. So anyway, moving on. Shift F5. Okay, so now we see this new generation. I want to kind of go over video game addiction. So before this talk today, anybody here believe video games is an actual addiction? A few of you. Okay, a bit more. Yeah, I mean it's actually not. A lot of people are very skeptical of it actually, and it is. So a recent survey of youth 2 through 12 found that 97% of kids have admitted to playing a video game. Yeah, I know, that's harsh. That represents 64 million kids in the United States.
That means 3% are lying.
Yeah, 3% are lying. There we go. Yeah, and then the other session this morning, it's the 3% that don't have smartphones, right? Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things that they found is that the age group 2 through 5 are the fastest growing segment of kids who are exposed to video games like such. Now, you think 2 through 5, they're just playing with bricks or Play-Doh or something like that. But gosh, anybody here have a 2 through 5-year-old and you hand them a smartphone and next thing you know they're tweeting and Snapchatting and yeah. So so this generation, there's no barrier. There's no barrier to entry. It's like they're born with this technology in their brain. They don't have to learn it because it's just inherent to them. To me, it's a language. And you think about it, if it's a language, you pick it up at a young age. And then once you get past that age, then it becomes harder and harder and harder to learn it. So similar to that. So this is a little video here that, that talks about video game addiction. And it's still doing the dual screen thing. I even told it not to. Computers. I hate Windows 10.
17-year-old Yang Xiyan has spent the past 2 months at a boot camp housed inside a Beijing military compound. He and 20 other peers have been sent here without access to the outside world. Cell phones and computers are strictly forbidden. They rise at 6:30 a.m. every morning to begin military drills. And why? They're being treated for internet addiction. The Chinese Internet Network Information Center reports that there are over 300 million people in China who play online games. And 14% of China's youth, or 24 million people, are addicted to the internet. Researchers use questionnaires to determine if someone has an unhealthy obsession with the internet. Subjects who fit the bill typically spend 10 hours per day, 6 days per week playing online games. Addiction researchers from Xi'an University have studied the negative effects of internet addiction disorder, also known as IAD.
IAD.
Via Skype from Xi'an.
Okay, so it's that big of a problem in China that they actually have to have camps devoted to that. So we send our kids to band camp or programming camp. They send them to IAD camps. So anyway, this is a big, really long quote. I wanted to throw it up here, but I'm not going to read it because that's really stupid. But basically, this is a quote from Peter Diamond's, who wrote the book Abundance. He's a big researcher in gamification and education. And I came across this. This is a beautiful quote. But basically what it sums up to be, it's like, we're living in this world where we have all this crap being thrown at us. And if we really want to prepare our children for the future, then learning needs to become addictive, just like the games. So why are video games so addicting? Why do I feel compelled to play it? Like, I could pick up a game and I would beat level 1, and I'm like, I have to do the next one. I have to do the next one. Then it's like 3 hours later, like, oh, what happened? And that happens all the time. So that's why I don't touch it. It's a temporary escape. You're escaping reality. You're in a different world. This is actually something that we as educators cannot tap in because we're not trying to do that. But these other ones we can. So social and anonymity. So there's a social component that drives gamers to continue to play. A lot of these online games, you form groups, you form clans, and you're trying to be a part of the team, and you don't want to disappoint somebody. And you're also anonymous, so you could be anybody you want, but you still have your status and things like that. So that plays a huge factor into it. So it's something that we can tap into. It's challenging and goal-oriented. They're looking for goals and challenges. They want to see that objective. They want to see that end goal in mind. Like, how many headshots am I going to get this level? 17, okay? or how many cars am I going to blow up? So they have those goals, and those goals are distinct, and they want to meet that. Or like, I want to do 3 stars in Angry Birds in the first world on all of them, so that I could get that Master Angry Bird trophy or something like that. And the most important one that we could use is constant measurable growth. That is like the strongest motivator, because they're continually getting feedback over and over again. How am I improving? Am I doing a little better? Am I doing a little better? It's all incremental. So when they play a level, they understand that they're not going to get it right the first time. It's never right the first time. It's never right the second time. Maybe better the third time, and maybe more accurate the fourth time. So they have that built in, is that they know that when they start, they're not going to be a master. When they end, they might be, or they might come closer to it. I have this keyboard here now, which works better. The attendance sheet. The reason I want this, because I will be emailing you additional content, information, stuff. Where's the blasted? Oh well, I'll just use this. So, well, this will be fine. Just name and email, or just email. I don't need your name. I put that there because I always forget. I get going, and then that happens. Okay, so it's very big because video games are a multi-billion-dollar industry. So this industry is so huge that it totally trumps the movie industry. So we're looking at in Super Bowl 2015, a small mobile game company put out a Super Bowl ad. When you're watching Super Bowl, you're thinking cars, Budweiser, women bikinis, Marvel superheroes. You're not thinking mobile games or even free-to-play games. No, this game put out an ad, and I was so surprised. Clash of Clans. Basically, yeah. Anybody have in a clan? Oh, yeah. I know. I need to check on my base here. So this game, it's a simple game. You build a castle, and you have to defend it against it. You have to attack other people for resources. It's absolutely free. You don't have to pay any money for it. But they put out an ad in Super Bowl because they want more people to play that game. Why? Because they earn $1.2 million from users a day, a single day. Back in the day when you bought video games, you pay like 30, 40, 50 bucks, you play it, and that's it. No more money going to the developer. But now I know people who've put in 5, 10, 50, 100,000 $2,000 on this little mobile game because they want to be the best. I mean, so companies like these are cashing in on the addiction. So there are addiction, and it's not going away. All right. So everything I've illustrated here is to build empathy for you, because I want you to know more about my mind so that you could pass it on to your students. And when you're looking at your students, you go, okay, you know, at this age, why are you motivated to play these games? What's the factor that's keeping you going to it? How can I understand you better as you grow up into grade school, middle school, high school, and college? These kids, this disconnect, we could start to bring them in because you could start to understand their language a little more. Because the more you know, the better you are. Or better than that. Anybody remember that? Yo, Joe. Yeah. Yeah. So if anyone wants to know more about the mind of a video gamer, this is a sci-fi fantasy book that was one of the top. In fact, he just got signed on to do a movie by Steven Spielberg, which will come out in a year or two. So it's actually that popular now. But back when I read it, it wasn't. But basically, it's just about a kid who lives in this virtual world, and they have to solve these puzzles, but then they have to deal with reality in real life. And really interesting, but it's just chock full of the whole entire generation, pop culture. And if it could be an analysis on why we're all so screwed up. All right, so I want you to understand a little bit. Kids are motivated by leveling up. So why do we level up? Why do we want to continuously improve ourselves? Well, what I like to ask is what level are you? What level do you consider yourself? Are you novice? Are you apprentice? Are you scholar? Are you level 1, 2, 3, 58, 59? But this is a funny saying I got from another teacher. It's so if my level was my age, then I am totally your master. I'm a demigod. So because you're only level 15, you got a few more years to go there. It's just a funny little quip, But we're motivated by levels, because the more levels we have, the more unlocks we get, the more powers we could get. So you could kind of relate that to life as you turn 16 or 15, you get your driver's license, things like that. So so we got to build that into the motivational factors. As you grow, you can unlock more things. Understanding their language. So this is something that the kids do a lot, grinding. So does anybody know what grinding is? Huh? Yeah, it's a skateboarding term, but in the video gaming world, well, actually, it's also a dancing term or something like that. But in the video gaming world, it's basically getting someone to do a repetitive task over and over and over again to accumulate wealth or status or experience points. So this is probably one of the most mundane things. Huh? Spices? Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, as chefs we think of it spices. But in the video game world, this is the most mundane thing we do in a game. It's just clicking on that button over and over, or going through a level and collecting all the items and then waiting an hour and doing the same task over again. So you got to think to yourself, if you're watching somebody doing that, is that really fun? No. Early on, yeah, it's a chore. These kids love doing chores. They love doing these repetitive actions because they're trying to accumulate enough experience points to get that magic sword of +2 with fire and lightning bolt. Oh, it's a dual elemental. So they have that motivation. So they know that they need 50,000 points or gold to get it. So each day they get 2,000, and then they continue to do that week after week, month after month, and then they eventually get it, and they're really happy. So grinding is actually a cheat as far as the game developer is concerned, a cheat in the game mechanic, because then instead of building a lot of content to get the students to play for 50 hours, they actually have 20 hours worth of content, but they have 100 hours worth of grinding to get them to get through that content. Farming is actually roughly the same thing as grinding. So those two are pretty much synonymous in a way. Actually, a story, I played a game where I had to learn fishing. So I would just sit there in front of a computer and every 30 seconds hit that button for fish, hit that button for fish. And eventually after like 3 hours, I got to level 2, which then I could go buy the next level rod, but then I could fish again and improve upon that. Now, there's something screwy here with that picture, but yeah, I mean, it happens. All right, so another thing that they do is what they call speed run. So you know when you're playing a game, you go through it and you finish it, you feel accomplished. But now, the big thing on the internet is how fast can you get through a level, and you post it on a leaderboard. So let's say I could beat it in 58 seconds, but someone else can beat it in 57 seconds and 30.79 nanoseconds or something like that. So you know, going through a level and going through it as fast and efficiently as possible is a big thing. Now, why would they be motivated to do that? So the first time I play a level, it might take me 5 minutes because it's my first time through it. I don't know what's around. Oh, there's a monster here, and then I react to it and I die. Or like, so I'm kind of like fumbling my way through the level. But then I start to learn the level. Then I know all the little tricks and crevices and how to get through it faster. You know, so that's mastery right there. Going through it, getting better at it, getting better at going through it faster, learning all the ins and outs, all the different little tricks and everything like that. So that's something that they do. Now, raids is something that people do as a group. So when you hear a student say, I'm going on a raid tonight at 8 p.m., that means that, yeah, not what you think. It means that they're getting together with a bunch of other friends online. They're probably going after a main quest objective, so they had to like all gather a bunch of resources together, get the map. Somebody had to go get the tool belt. Somebody had to get the potions, and then they get together and they say, okay, let's go and attack this dungeon, so that they could like defeat the dragon and get the +7 sword of lightning fire dual elemental. So raids are a very interesting aspect because there's a lot of planning involved. There's a lot of teamwork. There's like, you know, you have to be at some place at some time on time, and you're coordinating with people around the world in the most cases. So, you know, because if you're part of a clan, you know, you don't know if you're, well, you do, but you know, they could be from China and they're in a addiction boot camp, or they snuck out. Yeah, yeah. And the last one that a lot of kids do is what we call 100%er, which is basically, you know, when you play a game, you know, you could beat it and you complete 50% of objectives. You still beat the game, but there's all these little ancillary side quests. You go talk to this person and you get these other items. So like, you know, kids, you know, they want to get 100%. They want to get every single little nook and cranny. So like when I play a game, I go out and I look here. I'm like, oh, nothing. No, nothing. I mean, I obsessively look in every single corner because I want to find every single item in that room, even if there are no items in that room. So that's like an OCD problem. Okay, so there's game preferences. There's like dozens of game genres. I'm going to focus on 2 primary ones because you can kind of like tell a personality type based on the game they play. Now, one of the most popular ones that we see on right now is called FPS, which stands for first-person shooter. So what it means is like, you know, you're first-person view, and you usually have a gun or a sword or something like that, and you're running through a dungeon, and then you're interacting with like either NPCs, which are non-player characters or computer-controlled characters, or other live characters, and you're trying to beat them. So common ones that you might have heard of is like Halo, Medal of Honor, Call of Duty, and one of the most popular ones out there, Grand Theft Auto. So these are very popular with kids because, like, you know, you feel like you're in control of the action. You know, you're shooting a bazooka and blowing up a helicopter. Yeah, score. You know, you hit it from like 5 miles away. Got that achievement. So you know, kids who play these games. Now this is just like conjecture, but you know, they could be tend to be on the aggressive side. I'm not aggressive, really. Violent. They could be bullies. Maybe a little more vindictive. So those are kind of, because like, you know, these are kids who might be expressing themselves in this manner. That doesn't mean they are, but that's just the first-person shooter genre stereotype. But then we look at it this way. You know, these kids, they're very perceptive. They focus a lot of their time on understanding the level. They see things going on. They can look off in the distance and they see that somebody's like hiding out as a sniper. And then, like, you know, because they're keyed in on every single little pixel on the screen or the map or something like that. So they're like so perceptive. They're team players because usually these games, sometimes you're playing as a team, you're trying to capture the flag or something like that. So you have to work together to complete the objective. They're very fast with reactions. I mean, like, you have to be able to play that game because you're playing against other people who have fast reactions. So that means that, they could react to things, they could compute all these different things that are happening and make reactions to it. And like they see somebody who's like walking down the stairs, so they know where to go and hide and take care of them.
A lot of peripheral.
Yeah, a lot of peripheral data that they're trying to process there, and they're highly adaptive. So if you look at these like positive traits, like these things that they're spending all their time doing, like these are the attributes that they can have. Like MMORPG is the next big one, which is like which is really like the next wave. Like everything's moving towards MMO.
What does that stand for?
Stands for Massively Multiplayer Online Role-Playing Game. So games like this are like, the most popular one is World of Warcraft. Anybody here heard of World of Warcraft before? World of Warcraft is crack. Literally, it is. In fact, I knew well enough to not ever touch it. My friends like, hey, you gotta try World of Warcraft. It's free. Really, you can play up to level 10, not pay a dime. I'm like, no. But the thing is, like, I can't explain how crazy it is, though. Diablo, another one that's actually free, completely free, is Defenders of, gosh, I always forget that. Oh, but Dota 2. I mean, it's a very popular one. They have leagues. And these kids can actually make $1 million playing that game in leagues. I mean, they have like, so it's actually a major sporting event now. It's crazy, huh? It's on TV. Yeah, I know. Maybe I should do that. Star Wars: The Old Republic was one of those old ones that came out. EVE Online, which is a kind of like a capitalist economic simulator that's in space. I actually played this one. This was fun because you just like calculated numbers and try to make more money in the game. So kids who play this could be reclusive. They're very passive, and they could be antisocial because they're sitting there in front of that terminal all day long trying to get through that. But they're also very social because they have to work with other people. They have to have a very strong understanding of economics. Because when I pick up that +7 sword of fire and lightning, I understand that value. I understand what it can do, but then in the market, I understand it's also worth 5 million gold coins. I might have spent 700,000 to get it, but then it's worth $5 million. So I can either use it or turn around and turn it into a profit. So they understand economics. They're also very highly goal-oriented. So they want to go through and make it to the end. They are also very digitally social. So they have to talk with people all the time, make very strong decisions about what they want to do to make it through the level, and make strong plans. Because like when you start the game, you have certain classifications. And if you want to be a fighter mage, you have to understand like what you have to do to make it to that level. Kind of like picking a career in life, right? So I'm going to be a fighter mage. So what are the steps I need to make it there? And they do everything they can in their power to do that. So with education, how does that deal with education technology? So well, with technology, we try to use it, but can technology really solve everything? Yeah. Gotta love the French, right? Gotta love the French. So yeah, so we have technology, and we want to try to make the best use of it. And certain things do not need technology. Okay. So gamification. I want to spend just a minute on helping you understand what gamification is not, because there's a lot of people who have different misconceptions. Like, it's not creating a game. we're not trying to recreate games for this world. Like remember that whole virtual world where kids would sign on and have these avatars? Good idea. Huh? Second Life. Oh boy, the cheese factor was way up there. But I mean, but the thing is like, they were trying, and that's the thing is like, we need to not try to recreate, because if we make something that's compared to a game that they're used to, then it's like, here's our education game, and here's a game that's similar to that. We will never, ever, ever match up to that. So don't even bother. Don't create the game, unless if you create a game that's as amazing as that. It's not just creating a simulation. So because the thing about simulations is that they usually tackle one specific problem. And if you want to create a really great simulation, then you need to create a really great company too. So like for us, creating little simulations is not a practical way of doing it. Now, if you created 100 great simulations, then then it takes a lot of time. Let's not just making fun activities. So you can make a fun activity, and then because like that's a specific solution. It's not edutainment. We're not here to entertain. We're here to educate. And yeah, like I said earlier, it's not making a video game. Unless if you're a video game studio who wants to tackle education, then by all means throw that $1 billion into it. Okay, so what gamification is utilizing the subtle psychological cues that trigger reward systems in our brains by using intrinsic and extrinsic rewards for personal accomplishments. Ta-da! So it's a psychology. Utilizing the psychology, making it subtle so that they don't realize that they're actually engaged for any additional reason, and to create a unique, personalized experience for each player. So. And what we do is we take existing things that we do and we kind of apply that to the new model. So what we do, as part of this thing, like the experience that I gained over the past 30 years of studying video games, and also in creating this culinary products, I'm going to kind of show you like how we implement what I just kind of talked about, like the grinding, those various aspects, getting them to motivate. So first thing I want to kind of show you is how do we talk about continuous measurable growth? Let's see if this works here now. Yay. Okay, so super mouse. Not super mouse. Okay, aha. Aha, okay. So, growth components like showing this bar graph. As a student goes through a semester, they're seeing continual growth. Colors that indicate how well they're doing. So they could be all red and make it all the way through, or they could be mostly green or mostly yellow. So that's something that's a key indicator. Like so we developed that as as a motivational factor to kind of show, okay, as I'm making my way through these modules, each of these squares represents a module. I'm seeing progress. I'm not just making it through the day-to-day grind in a way. Each of these boxes actually will have colors too. So if here's a green one there, and here's like some multiple colors with them. So so I'm getting this feedback, and this feedback is important because it's kind of crazy because I have students who are obsessed with turning everything green. More power to them. but the thing is they have these motivational cues now to help them get to that next level. So these are like measurable growth components, all these different colors. Now let's say I want to go over here and let's work on some surf safe practice. So the next thing is so this is in this module here we have concepts. So they're going to learn the materials in here, blah blah blah, whatever, fire safety, listen to the audio.
Kitchen safety.
Yeah, whatever. So, but the key is then, okay, so what was the next slide? It was called, where's a lot better one? There we go, grinding, okay. So now to illustrate grinding, not me, but to illustrate grinding, so they come over here, they click on check your knowledge. So basically, they're grinding their way through a quiz. Woo! But I specifically called it check your knowledge because we don't want to think of it as a quiz, test, assessment, all those like really horrible negative connotation words. Because what we want to think is like, you make it to the next checkpoint, so we're going to check your knowledge and go through that. So they go through and answer all these questions, and then they get this instant feedback. So they're grinding through it, and then they see, okay, first time through, I got 3 green dots. Good job, so I'm good at strains, HASCOM, and that. But here, I need to go back and study Burns. So what Burns is telling me as a student, like if I'm playing a level, is that that room over there, I didn't pick up that special item, so now I need to go back over there and hunt through Burns to find that hidden treasure, which is the information, because the scoring system said you didn't do very well on that particular part of the level. These other ones you did okay, you can still improve. So then they go through, they click on that, check your knowledge again, and the second time, then they'll see, let's just say that I did some improvement. This one moves up here, and this area expands. So that's positive reinforcement right there. I got more green, yay! And then this red turns yellow, yay! That means I did better on birds. I did a little better. So this process here is what we call remediation, right? So now they're remediating the content, and they're going through it over and over. I have students who have remediated content 3 or 4 or 5, sometimes a dozen times, because they're like, okay, I need to find that thing because I'm totally missing something. That OCD, we're totally playing into that OCD nature, and because they want to perfect themselves. Then there are others who just don't give up, and but can't do much about that. So that continual measure of growth, grinding their way through this level, improving upon it, getting to a next higher level. I mean, it's just like, it's so simple in a way, but yet it's very sophisticated. And what was that? And constant feedback, I just talked about that. So this feedback is very important because, we're also telling them where to maximize their time. So if they know that this is the area that I'm having a problem with, I don't need to spend any more time here because I've mastered that part of the level. It's really cool that way. But probably more importantly is this view. Now this is the God level view. So you are the dungeon master. You are the game level designer. You are saying how everybody is interacting within your realm or your class. So let's say classroom. So you know that this student here, Dan, is not doing very well in number 5, which is, well, let me hover over what that is. Passive. And then we go over here. We see a lot of red here. What is this? Cooking techniques and food cost control. Oh, duh. Food cost control is giving kids problems. But yeah, that's a very difficult level. That's like master alchemist level. But so this is really cool because you can kind of get a bird's eye view and see how everyone's progressing through all these different components and levels. And if you really wanted to, you could. Let's look at grades here. I had that pulled up before. Where is it? Nope, not here. Let's see here. You can actually drill down and see every single question they've ever answered, and you can really dive into their data. So here we go. Let's see here. Oh, not very good. Oh, did good on those. So this is your dungeon master analysis tool, which will let you go and say, okay, Tommy, you're really failing at that level, but let me see what I can do to help you. Where's your pitfalls? Where's your areas that okay, you really think that Supreme is that? No, it's puree. So the tools to help them get through that level, all these different aspects. So I know that we are right on time. So I actually, even with the technical difficulties, I made it on time. But the thing is, what did you all think? And did you have any questions about the ways that we implemented gamification? Because I wanted you to understand more about what gamification is and what we need to do for students, but also understand, there are people who are doing things about it and trying to come up with ways to reach these kids who are crazy like me. So what do you all think? Yes? Good? Yeah? All right, great. I had a question there.
The idea that this, the mind that you're talking about is a person that their attributes are they're going to grind. They're going to keep working at this because they want to get to a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
And as an instructor, we're You want them to work to the highest level.
Yeah.
Do you have evidence that this is really kind of connecting those dots?
Yeah, actually, we're working with two universities who are conducting studies. One, University of West Florida, and also Northern Arizona University, who are actually starting to do studies. And I'm always working for more universities who would love to, to put hard data behind, our impressions.
Pretty impressive that that's there.
It's all research based, so it's not like we just pull it out of our, but we made, it's through lots of trial and error too, because we did things wrong and we did things right. It's like playing a video game. You learn through your mistakes. Yes, sir.
So just something that I did in class, because we had a guest speaker come a couple years back talking about gamification, and something that I had done, I had an online quiz, and usually you put the quiz on there, and they take the quiz, and they get a score, and so instead of just letting them take it once, I said, okay, well, you can take it as many times you want. You can take it 50 times, go for it, you can get every answer correct.
Yeah.
You can write them down, and
Yeah.
then you can go back through and just put the right answers in.
Mm-hmm.
Really? Sure, go for it. And I have probably, out of a class of 20, about 6 or 7 of them get 100% on every single quiz. But the point was, they went through it
Yes.
10 times.
Yes.
And learned it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
There are.
I do think, and I just did this, and I really do think that it works. I'm going to do it with all my quizzes.
Yeah, and just to kind of note, like this platform is actually something that we're actually working with universities to put their own content and information in right now. That's a new thing that we're doing. It's like, hey, this technology, you got classes you want to put in there? Hey, go ahead, throw it in there,
What kills me
Yeah.
is there's still some kid that'll take a 50 or 60 and never go back again.
Sure.
Yeah.
But that's like
And those are the
saying-
ones that gotta get on.
And yeah, but then you identify that it's not that they don't know it, it's that there's not the time, the effort to put into it, to learn it and study it, to master it, to do it 10 or 15
Yeah, this is not a, it's going to create 100% engagement for 100% students. It's just another venue or avenue of expression. So for the kids who usually, like myself, would become very reclusive and not be engaged, this is something that I would love to do. But I would have normally been lost in the school system if that wasn't available, or I had to struggle for some other way. So it's just another point of expression. And the thing is, what I'm trying to say is, these kids coming up through this video game generation, it's, right now it's like 6 out of 20. Next year it might be 10 out of 20, and then, so on and so forth. So this is something that's coming up through the woodworks critically.
What are your engagement percentages? So how many students actually go on and do the work, and how many don't do the work? Because in my classes, if I tell them to go on and watch a video, I've probably got like 60% will go and watch it, and 40% just won't. They just won't.
Well, see, that's true. So let's just say you put it online and you say, go do it out of your own goodness of your heart. You probably get 40, 60% engagement. But then you say, hey, now there's accountability. It's like, are you going through the mastery system, and are you demonstrating to me that you're going to be most orange or green throughout? So if you as an instructor say, this is my requirement for you to do that, that also creates more engagement. So those are things that, ways that you could manage your class to do that. So for teachers who implement it properly, they get 100% engagement. In fact, we have global awareness components in there that the kids kind of do trading cards, things that's built in that makes it more fun too. But I'm not going to show that. But yeah, I mean that's very true. So if you just put it out there, kind of throwing stuff up on Blackboard, where's the accountability other than personal accountability? But then you got this data that you could go look at, and then you could drill down into the individual student and see, and if you're going to actually assign a point value or some sort of accountability process to it, then that ups the. But the thing is, what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it so that the barrier to entry is very low for them to do that, because we look at these quizzes as practice tests, and the thing is, the questions change every single time. There's a very large item bank per module, and it changes it up so that they're not repeating the same thing over again.
Based on the same content, but looked at or asked in a different way.
Yeah, or a different part of the content, so that on this page of content, if we're looking at it, and let's look at burns, for example. First time you ran into it, you might have been asked a question here. but then next time you might even ask a question here. So the thing is like, it's like, you're hunting for those like, those little hidden like treasures of nuggets of information. To basically, try to make it past the level.
So people can continue to ask questions, but Mary asked me to remind everybody that we are going to start the roundtables.
Oh, yes.
At lunch on the third floor. So anybody who wants to stay and ask questions is more than welcome. But
Third floor is a big room.
yes.
We got to get the info.
Yeah, you get your food first and then move over there. But yeah, it's time. So anybody who wants to ask more questions, please feel free. Thank you very much.